I am Dr. Amy Hurd, and with me today is Bob Rosenthal of Moriarty's Fence.
Thank you, Dr. Hurd. It's my pleasure to be here and an honor to sit with you today. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here today, Bob.
Thank you, Dr. Hurd.
And I understand we will be discussing invisible fencing, and you'll be educating us on your product as well as how it will benefit our pets.
That's exactly correct. I look forward to being here today, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Could you give us a little bit of history about your company?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. And it's a long history. Invisible Fence is the original brand. It was literally invented in 1972, which is...
Before I was born.
Yeah, me too. Right. Which is actually a little surprising. Most people don't realize it's been around for that long. It probably has been more mainstream for the last 20 or so years. But literally it's been around for almost 40 years now. It's changed quite a bit. It's evolved quite a bit. It was invented by a gentleman back in 1972. He was a dog lover, a pet lover. He was like myself. He was in his car a lot. He was in a sales position. And back in the early 70s and 60s and before, people weren't quite as conscious and conscientious about their dog's safety. And dogs were, as we know, running all over the road. And lots of them, unfortunately, had incidents in the road. And this gentleman named Richard Peck decided to find a way, a solution, aside from physical, probably aesthetically unpleasing fences, to develop a way to contain dogs and now cats as well, which I'll discuss a little bit. But he was able to develop a solution with some help of his electrical engineering friends. And they developed a crude representation of what we have today. Obviously, the technology has changed quite a bit over the years. Our approach to things has changed. We've gotten much better at every aspect of this. But the invisible fence, being the original, was really the only thing in the pet containment industry until the early 90s when the patent expired. At that point, there's been an explosion of all these other underground wired fences. Most of them haven't lasted very long. They're generally they're a generic copy of what we do. Moriarty's Fence, who I represent, we are the local Rhode Island, southeastern Massachusetts dealer of the Invisible Fence brand. We're the exclusive dealer in this area. We've been in business since 1986. We have a full service operation with offices in Portsmouth, Rhode Island and Warwick, Rhode Island, and we cover all of the Invisible Fence clients and customers throughout Rhode Island and southeastern Mass. We install approximately 900 to 1,000 new fences every year, so we're training upwards of 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 new pets every year, keeping them safe, contained on the property. And I know we're going to get a little bit into the technology and some of the changes we've made over the years with training and technology, so I'll leave that for that. But things have changed quite a bit, and I'm very, very proud to have been working with the company for almost 17 years now. We do a tremendous job of keeping dogs and cats safe, as you know. You're one of our clients. Thank you very much.
As I will vouch for it. Yeah.
And our job, everything we are about, is keeping the dogs and cats safely contained on the property. And as I'm sure you can tell over the years, you're seeing less and less dogs with injuries from the road.
Yes, indeed.
I'm not going to take all of the credit for that, but I'll take a lot of it. I think we've done a really tremendous job of keeping dogs safely contained on the property, which is allows our clients to have tremendous peace of mind knowing that their puppy, their 5-year-old dog, their 10-year-old dog is going to be safely contained all the time. They don't have to worry about the kids opening the doors anymore, or a gate being open and the dog running through it and getting into the road. They don't have to worry about the dog or the cat running onto the neighbor's property and doing its business. So we've had a tremendous, I think we've played a tremendous role in making the client-pet relationship, making the owner-pet relationship positive, fun, happy, and people aren't surrendering dogs as much. Their dogs are safe, they're lasting longer, they're healthy, they're able to get exercise.
Yeah.
They're not tied up, they're not tethered, getting wrapped around things. So there's a lot of opportunities that are a lot of solutions that we can provide that have really not just in terms of safety. I know we're going to talk a little bit about some of the other types of things we can do, like indoor solutions and cat solutions, but we'll talk about that as we go. Invisible Fence has been the leading brand for the entire time we've been in business, and we don't just rest on our laurels. The engineering department of Invisible Fence spends a tremendous amount of money yearly on research and development and developing new ways to do things. As a company, we've included the veterinary community, nationally renowned trainers and animal behaviorists to come in, scrutinize us, and there's been a lot of changes based on a lot of recommendations that were made by them. So we're not just throwing something in the ground on somebody's property without having tremendous knowledge of how it will affect the pet that we're dealing with and the relationship with the owner. So we'll talk a little bit more about all this as we go.
Yes. Yeah, that's great. Because I have had, I think it was probably about 10 years ago when Moriarty's fencing came out and put in the invisible fence for me, and explained to me the whole process of the training and how carefully we went through the training. Sure. And it's the best thing, because I had a very big, energetic dog who was still very energetic, and he made the mistake one time.
Yep.
He ran through it one time, and he never did it again. And he has I don't know, about an acre and a half that he runs in the woods, out in the lawn.
And I'll tell you this: since I put your fence in 10 years ago, the technology and our training has changed quite a bit since then, and there's been even improvements from that, which is great. I love the fact that it's an ongoing process, and as I said, we're not just resting on our laurels and being satisfied with this. They do a tremendous job of changing things to really address individual situations. I even remember your dogs are rescued, correct?
Yeah.
And we have a preponderance of rescue dogs these days. I would say the majority of dogs that I see these days are rescued, and there's baggage with a lot of these dogs. They're coming up from the south with temperament issues or behavioral issues, with past experiences that weren't very good. So we have to handle them differently. And with the combination of the technology these days and the training approach, I think we've been able to address that very, very carefully and well. And that's been a tremendous change for us. And I think if you saw the training today, you'd be surprised at how different it was from even 10 years ago. So.
Yeah. But I have to say it's a great product. And my dog, I can leave him out. I can leave him out for hours while I'm doing whatever.
And the nice thing is that you have a peace of mind knowing he's never getting to the road.
Yeah.
And you have a busy road. You live on a busy road. So.
And it's a great thing. Yeah. But we also, I was able to train him too, because he goes jogging with me. And so we have this whole, because I don't want to walk him across there and have him think he can do it.
One of the most common questions, as a matter of fact, 100 out of 100 times I meet somebody, one of the questions is, how do I walk my dog off the property? And a properly trained dog on the invisible fence will understand that they can leave the property when their owner says it's okay.
Yep.
By taking the invisible fence computer collar off,
yeah.
And they understand that I am contained. I know where my boundary is when the invisible fence collar is on me, and I know when mom or dad takes it off, puts the leash on, we're safe to leave the property.
Yep, and that's exactly what I do with my dog is we walk up to where the boundary is, and I make a big ceremony of it.
Yep.
We sit, stay, I take his collar off, and then I say, okay, and we go.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting.
And on the way back, and he knows exactly. He'll, if I forget to stop, he stops.
Yeah, exactly, he'll tell you.
Because he knows who can't cross the line.
Well, one of the results of the newer training methods and protocols that we use these days has really led to not even needing the big ceremony anymore. We're really at a point now where most of our clients are able to sit their dog at the door, take the invisible fence collar off, put the leash on, and they know that they're going for a walk.
Yeah, yep.
They're that well trained.
Yep,
they're that well understanding of the whole process. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when we're out jogging with my dog, I go past the homes where there's a dog barking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Inside his invisible fence.
That's right.
As we go jogging by, and it's great. So that dog is safe, is not running out into the road.
What people think, one of the comparisons that people are always making is a structural fence versus the invisible fence. And I find there's big differences. Structural fences aren't designed for containment for a dog. Yes, most of them will work, but they can dig out under. They can sit there all day when nobody's paying attention to them, and dig at the bottom of that fence until
they're frustrated because they're separated from the rest of the world.
They're blocked visually. They can't see on the other side of it, so that does create some anxiety and frustration. The first time the gate gets open, there goes the dog. We get a lot of calls on a daily, weekly, monthly basis from people who have structural fencing, a fence that nobody could get out of, and the dogs are finding a way out of it, and we come in after that, and we put our invisible fence in there, and those dogs never leave the property again. So I really feel at this point, after doing this for 17 years with Moriarty's fence, that the invisible fence is a much more solid, successful means of containment for a dog and a cat, more so than a structural type fence. And frankly, we're quite a bit less expensive. And aesthetically, there's nothing to look at. It's beautiful. You can still see the landscape around you without an ugly, unsightly chain link or structural fence.
So. And I would agree. It's much better for the dog.
Right.
They have their freedom. Right. They can watch the world go by.
Absolutely.
But they're safe.
Absolutely.
And it's a great system. But now tell me about this cat thing, because I have a problem with my cats in my house. I have 2 cats that are not friendly with each other. So I need to learn more about this.
Well, the cats, we've been putting cats on the invisible fence for many years. Probably a lot of people don't know that, but hopefully we're trying to get that word out more and more. And if you drive down the road these days, unfortunately, I'm seeing cats still on the road and, not in good shape anymore. Whereas, we've eliminated, or we've helped eliminate that with dogs. Cats get out and they get to the road, and that could be it. So we've been putting cats on the invisible fence for many years. Now, the technology's changed a lot. The older collars were slightly bigger, a little bit more one-dimensional than they are now. The newer collars these days, we call them micro-light collar. They're much smaller. There's an incredible array of technology in these collars, which has really allowed tremendous customization and flexibility between a cat and a dog, between a Yorkie and a Mastiff. And that has allowed us to really customize the programming in these computer collars very specifically to the pet we're dealing with, to the personality of that pet. Our trainers are very experienced and accurate at being able to adjust things very specifically for the cat or dog that we're dealing with. So it really has allowed us to psychologically work with the cat. Now, cats and dogs are very different, obviously. Dogs are much more willing to please and be part of the teamwork and be much more playful in most cases. So we've adopted different training techniques for cats, although the goals and the objectives are the same, but maybe the approach might be slightly different. The training has changed a lot over the years. The training for cats and dogs, again, somewhat similar but different. But the result has been tremendous in being able to ensure that cats are staying safely contained on the property. As we mentioned a few minutes ago, fences. We have a lot of cats who are getting up over the fence. They can climb the fence. I've put a lot of fences in around somebody's structural fence to ensure that their cat can't climb up and over it. I've even got several, and quite a few, where it's just a wide open yard, and we don't want the cat to leave the yard. They let their cats out. We start the training process, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about training, but we start the training process inside, which allows both the cat and a younger dog to really learn about the computer collar and how this works in a small, focused, restricted, risk-free environment before we even bring them into the outside environment. Now, the one prerequisite, more or less, with a cat is that most cats aren't trained on a leash. So we do ask our clients to work with the cats a little bit prior to us getting there by possibly putting a small cat harness and maybe a leash, letting them kind of understand how they can walk with leash. So when we do move them outside, we have a little bit of restriction and more ability to make sure that they're doing the right thing. But cats are much more independent in a lot of ways than dogs. So the approach is a little bit different. We let them figure this out on their own. We always start the process with the computer collars at just a tone. So when they actually get to the invisible fence, whether it's inside or outside, they actually just hear a tone. We systematically and very slowly, and this is both with cats and dogs, we systematically and slowly start to make adjustments in the collar, where eventually they'll start to experience a slight vibration and maybe a little tingling sensation. And as the collar changes, as the programming changes, we'll start to see their approach and their behavior change a little bit. And it's amazing to watch the cats figure it out. They learn if they get to the area where the fence is, something happens, they hear a tone, eventually they're going to experience something, and the reaction is always to retreat away from it. The conditioned response is move away from it, and they learn where it is. We demark the invisible fence on the outside with flags so that they can visualize it, and we train the dogs and cats.
Just like the dogs.
Exactly right. Again, they're learning this inside by approaching the flags where we place inside the house for a short period of time. Basically a training station we're setting up. And we let the cats approach it, let them hear the tone from it, maybe let them get a little vibration or a tingle, and they learn every time I go to a flag, this happens. Every time I back away, it stops happening. They learn they can walk around it, near it, without experiencing anything from the collar. And all of the activity that they experience inside over maybe a week or so, when we bring them outside, they recognize, oh, there's those flags. And when they go over to those flags, they get that same tone, the same little tingling feeling, and they retreat back. And as we make these very systematic adjustments in the technology, they start to recognize maybe the better option is to not go there. And we start to see them recognizing avoiding going to the boundary is my really only option. And when we start to see them recognizing that, then we start to give them a little bit more freedom. We'll eventually start to test them with low-level distractions around the invisible fence to see if they're still willing to engage it. And that's where we make adjustments in the computer collar. But we go very slowly with everything. We're very, very philosophically, the approach to the training with both dogs and cats is all about teaching them where they're safe in relation to where the invisible fence is. And that's allowed us to have cats who are very sensitive dogs, puppies. We've been able to train them now in a much different way. It's a much...
Because it's not a punishment.
Right,
There's no pain, there's no punishment. It's just a little noise, a little tingle, a little sense. When you hear this noise, you need to move away.
You got it. And more importantly, they're focused on where they're safe. So that's creating confidence, comfort. So when they go outside, their tail's not tucked between their legs. They're not nervous about this. They go out and know, I know that's my yard and I can do anything I want. I just can't go over near that perimeter. If they get to the perimeter where the invisible fence is, yes, there's a consequence. And we don't want them to go beyond that. We want them to understand if they hit the fence, it's no different than if you walk into a wall. You're going to hit your head. You're going to learn you don't walk into the wall. You're going to learn you walk near the wall, but not into it. And so the experience is gentle, is low-key, it's playful. We use treats. We use toys. We want the entire family part of it. I love having kids part of the process. Having the kids part of it is great because it's a family event. Particularly when we're dealing with a kitten or a small cat or even a puppy. It's a bonding process, this training, because you're all you're all rooting for the same thing. And you're playful, you're spending time, you're giving the dog and the cat attention. So with cats, we've been very successful. It's definitely something that we're trying to promote more because we're seeing too many cats. You're seeing too many cats come in here with injuries, and we want to eliminate that. We want to alleviate that. So, the cat should have every bit the same respect as we give our dogs.
Yeah. Now, certainly, there's, we encourage people to keep their cats indoors because it's safer.
Of course, absolutely.
But certainly, if they've got the fence out there, then we know that their cat is safer because their cat's not going off into the woods or into the road. But now, this can be used in the house as well?
Thank you.
Like I have a problem that I have two cats that do not get along. One is the bully, and one is the poor little kitty who's being beat up all the time. So can I do this in the house?
Yeah.
And set this up so that these cats are kept away from each other?
We've always done cats, we've always had indoor invisible fences as well. That again, a lot of people don't recognize that we can provide solutions for inside the house.
And so this would be a great solution where the cats are not getting along.
Yeah,
and they can have their own turf.
Exactly. We have indoor solutions that can cover a myriad of situations. Your situation being unique where the two cats don't get along, we have plenty of situations where I don't want my dog to get into the cat litter box, or I don't want to get my cat. I don't want my cat to get onto that couch. It's ruining my leather couch. I want to keep the dog over here, the cat over here. I don't want that dog to be able to eat that dog's food. There's a million different applications for it. The garbage, tremendous. My dog got in the garbage, chewed a chicken bone, and I had to bring it to Dr. Hurd for a costly event and a traumatic experience. So we've got wireless indoor applications. We call them avoidance shields. And they can create a radius of signal of anywhere from 2 to 12 feet in all directions around the shield that we install. We can use that. It works off the same computer collar that the dogs and cats have for the outdoor environment. The programming is very unique in that the outdoor settings and customization can be quite different than the indoor. So we're adapting everything very specifically to the individual situation and the individual pet that we're dealing with. In your case, sure, we can set up these indoor wireless shields to keep this cat over here, to keep that cat over here, but still allow them to maybe get into the same hallway where they can go out the front door if that's what you want. So the indoor's been tremendous. Again, it's been a tremendous help in being able to create more harmony within the household. I have a situation very similar to yours with a client of ours years ago where they had two Siberian Huskies who really did not like each other. One husky was one child, the other husky was the other child. So they weren't going to determine which dog had to leave. They needed to keep both these dogs. So we actually set up both indoor and outdoor fences to separate the two dogs. So
it sounds like the technology has really advanced
it really,
a lot
really has.
over the years.
The fact that these shields, these indoor devices, they're wireless, so they can be put anywhere. Stairs, that's probably the most common thing. I don't want my dog or cat to go up the stairs or down the stairs. Or I want the cat's upstairs, dog can't go up there. So we put these shields on the steps. They're very small devices. They're sleek looking. They're not an ugly thing at all.
So say when I go to visit my mom, and she's got like 5 mini schnauzers, and which she does, and
good luck to her.
So now I travel with my big dogs, but now we want to have a separate place for them.
That's what you can do.
Can we have some
I can now
put a barrier down?
Right. That's for inside.
Yeah.
The outside's not really
but
portable.
I want the dogs to stay in the bedroom or something.
That's what it's for.
Anywhere I go.
Anywhere you go. Anywhere you go.
Wow.
And once the dogs are trained, once the cats are trained, they're conditioned to understand if that computer collar is on them and they hear that tone, they retreat. They don't stay there. They don't go forward. So it's not like you have to, oh my God, I have to retrain my dog or cat at this new thing. Yeah, you teach them a boundary. It takes 5 minutes to do that. And they recognize it's there, and they avoid that at that point. They stay away from it. So we've gotten a lot of calls after the fact, both inside and outside, where there's been an event that happened. Why am I here today? Well, you pull the story out of the person, and the dog ran on the road, or the cat ran on the road, the child chased the dog or cat into the road, there was a near miss, or the indoor, my dog tore up my $3,000 sofa, and I can never let that happen. Another one of my favorite ones was I had a client who had a $30,000 Steinway piano that their 4-month-old puppy was clawing at. They weren't real happy, as you can, to say the least. So we put one of these devices, and the dog could never go near the piano again. So there's a tremendous. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I have a training for 2 cats. They've moved into a new home, and they need to separate the dogs and the cats, and so I'm going out there tomorrow to be working with them. So we do it a lot. It's interesting. It's interesting to train cats, that's for sure. But it's fun. We have a good time.
That's
with it,
great.
So, yeah.
And what makes your company different from, say, somebody else who's out there selling some sort of containment system?
And you're right. And I don't want to just harp on we are the Invisible Fence brand, the brand name, the original. I mean, sure, there's something to be said for that, certainly. The longevity and track record, I think, stands, speaks for itself. So I think that the increase in the technology, the changes over the years, we literally have been the leading industry innovator. Everything that we do is usually somebody's trying to copy over time. Invisible Fence is a company, as I mentioned earlier, spends a tremendous amount of money in research and development yearly. They're constantly developing new products, ensuring that the current products that we offer are safe, are functional. They're always adding and changing things. So I think that attitude of innovation and being on the leading edge and having, as I said, nationally renowned trainers and behaviors and veterinarians come in and say, no, you're not doing that right. You need to change that. And we listen, which is very important. Besides the technology, which I think is tremendous these days, it's always been good. It's always been very good, but it's no question gotten better. I think the training approach is night and day. Our philosophy, again, teaching the dogs and cats about the safe area, about keeping them comfortable and calm, not traumatizing them in any way, not creating fear, negativity, anything like stress or anxiety. That's vital. It's important. If we have a cat or a dog stressed out or anxious, they're not going to pay attention. They're not going to learn. So we want to keep this very friendly. So philosophically, it's a huge difference from, I know, a lot of the other entities that are in the pet containment industry. They're probably more, their approach is more like, let's get the dog or cat trained by letting them experience the negativity, and then we'll worry about getting them comfortable.
You want it to be
it's
positive.
Polar opposite of what we approach. Our trainers with our company, there's 7 or 8 people within our company, Moriarty's Fence, that are skilled, experienced trainers. We've all gone through a lot of internal scrutinization, certification. We've all made our mistakes and learned. As things change, as a matter of fact, coming up in the next couple of weeks, we're having the office is closed. We're all going to be in a seminar all day on training, and we do that 2 or 3 times a year. We do a lot of online courses in animal behavior, particularly canine behavior, and we have to pass these things, and that's incorporated into the process. So whoever you have out there, somebody's an expert at this. Somebody's very experienced. You're not getting some guy in the back of his truck who hopefully you think he knows what he's doing and you pretty quickly see he doesn't. Beyond that, I think one of the big differences also is Moriarty's. You're dealing with a company, Moriarty's, who's been around for 30 years now, 29 years. We've got 18 or 19 employees. We have 4 or 5, 6 people in the offices every day who monitor our client database. If you call, you're getting somebody on the phone, you're not getting a voicemail. We keep very accurate statistical information about what's going on, about the events that have happened, about the training. So if somebody needs ongoing support or there's an issue of any kind, we're incredibly responsive. We can usually get to somebody's house within a 24-hour period to hopefully resolve something that's been going on. If there's a train, and I think that's very comforting. I'm not dealing with selling a TV or something that's a little bit, it's not a big deal if it doesn't work. I can't watch my show that night. This has to work, and I want my clients to feel like this is going to be successful. They can feel great about it. They don't have to have any anxiety about it. They know they've got the Invisible Fence brand, the company that's been there for 40 years, Moriarty's, the local dealer who's been doing this for 30 years. There's tremendous continuity within our company. And if you move, if Dr. Amy Hurd up and moves from where you live now and you move to California, you're going to take your Invisible Fence out there, and the local dealer that handles that area where you've moved can reinstall the fence. You've got the electronics, and now you've got support of a company out there like Moriarty's. So I think that's really what separates us. There's been a, excuse me, there's been a lot of the one-man operations over the years, or the store-bought self-installation kit. The technology, the equipment is usually not very impressive, breaks down early. Excuse me, the collars don't have the flexibility or functionality. There's no training, or if there's training, it's been bad training, which has created trauma and anxiety. And then there's no services support. And most of those companies go out of business. And now somebody's sitting there with a product that it was lifetime warranted, but if the company's not in business, it's not so lifetime warranted. So we've been the ones that have always been there. We've been the steady influence. We're the ones recommended by the Dr. Amy Hurds and the veterinary community.
Well, and
trainers.
and I was going to say, I mean, when I talk invisible fences, with any of our pet owners, I do always recommend you, and part of it is because when a few things. Number one, you send me the little batteries. They come. I don't even have to
making everything easy.
I don't have to worry that the batteries went dead, because you send them to me and I don't even have to think about it. I just put them in and we're good to go. Because I know how most people are like me.
Forgetful.
You get busy.
That's why we do it that way.
And next thing you know, why did he go through there? Well, because the battery's dead.
That's right.
And I had a situation where I was having some work done with the driveway, and 2 days in a row, whatever this excavator guy was, he managed to break the wire 2 times, and you guys came right out, fixed it, no issue.
And that's the nice thing. The equipment is very reliable. It alerts you, warns you if there's ever any malfunctioning. So from that, I'm that way. I just, I have Cox cable, and it broke the other day, and I had to wait for them to come out. With the invisible fence, we can't have a situation where it's not working. If there is an issue or a question with it, the system alerts you. You contact us. We can get out there right away to mend it, fix it, make sure everything is up and running. We view this as black and white. This has to work. When I hear somebody say to me, "Oh, my invisible fence works most of the time," that's not good enough to me. This has to work all the time. That's the only thing we're thinking about. So we participate in this process with you, and I think that's very comforting for most people. We're dealing with something that you love very much, and we want to make sure that that thing you love stays very safe, and you're comfortable with that. So,
okay, more questions. So.
Excuse me.
I have a little area where it's maybe about 12 inches that I'm seeing the wire above the ground. Is that okay?
It's okay, but probably needs to be buried.
Okay, so should I just dig a little hole and put it
Sure,
down
or call me and we'll come over and do that for you. That's not a problem, of course.
All right, so now here's my other question. So I have, the invisible fence. My dogs stay on my property in the woods and everything. I have a neighbor who has a terrier who is a terrorist. Terrier terrorist.
Right.
He is coming over onto my lawn and pooping. So I've talked to my neighbors.
Nicely.
And they'd say, and my recommendation, and I don't know if this would work or not, what I said to them, I said, I have an invisible fence. Yeah. I want you to get an invisible fence collar and keep your dog on your property.
It will work.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm going to have to make them do it.
It will keep that dog off your property.
Yeah.
It won't keep that dog on their property, though.
Right. But I'm just, and he harasses my dogs, and he's just.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. So that would
of course.
So that would be a solution for them.
Dr. Hurd, you could probably give me 100 scenarios right now, and I'm going to tell you 99 of them I can help you with.
Yeah.
Maybe there's the one thing you could find that I can't do, but that's where, again, the flexibility of what we do is really through the roof these days. There are just a zillion different things that we can help with that people aren't even when I go to somebody's house, we're focused on containment. We're focused on, I don't want my puppy to ever get in the road, that kind of thing. But there's other things. I mean, people have garden beds. I want to keep my dog on the property, but I don't want them to get into the garden bed. We can easily create a boundary just in the bed where they can walk around the bed, also stay on the property, but they can't get in the bed to dig anymore. Pools. I go out, how many people have pools? And the dog got on the pool and scratched the liner, and it's $4,000 to fix that. We have a lot of clients who put the invisible fence around the pool. We have technology these days, which is really unique, that we can run a fence around the perimeter, keeping the dog or cat contained within the property. However, in the winter, I want my pool to be surrounded so the dog can't get in the pool in the winter. But in the summer, I want the dog to be able to go in the pool. We have technology where I can run the fence around the pool, turn it on in the winter and off in the summer.
Wow.
So there's a lot of
That's
different
awesome.
things that we can do these days that people aren't, kind of focused on. And you're not adding big dollars to do these things. That's the great thing about this. It's not the cost of a structural fence. It's safer than a structural fence. It's easily changeable. If you call me tomorrow and say, I want to change my boundary, no problem. You can come over there and reroute the fence to a different boundary. Very inexpensive to do that. Now your dog's at a different boundary. If you move, as I said, you take it with you. So there's a lot of flexibility within what we do. And I think I don't know, I want to say that's a philosophical thing for the company, but it is how it ends up. The result of everything that's going on is tremendous flexibility. Everything I think again where I'm comfortable, and I think my clients are comfortable when I meet with them, is the personalized attention that they get. We're very specifically setting this up for your home, for your dogs. We're building around your schedule. The training approach is going to be built around them, how their personalities are, who they are. We take into account the age, the size, the weight, the breed. We go in with an attitude of, I know I'm dealing with a golden retriever, or I know I'm dealing with a beagle. I have 2 beagles, or I know I'm dealing with the Alaskan Malamute, or whatever the breed is. So we know going in what the general characteristics and personality traits of that breed is. But now we're going to take a lot of input from our clients about their dogs, and all of that is kind of thrown into the cauldron. And then as we start the process, we're going to really evaluate, analyze the dog or cat that we're dealing with, and on site at that moment in real time tweak the process built around that individual dog and built around the human. I mean, that's part of what we have to do. I think we have to sometimes play amateur psychologists with humans. And there's some things I'm sure you do it in your business, in your industry as well. When somebody comes in here, there's a lot of emotion about it, and we need to kind of do our best to quell that, separate that, and make sure that the focus is on what we do. We're very body language oriented. When I'm doing a training with a dog or a cat, I'm very focused on what they're communicating to me through their body language. And we're approaching it that way and making the proper adjustments based on that. So, and I think people are very comfortable with that expertise and what we can present to them. So, it's been great. I'm very proud of, not that I before wasn't proud of how we did it, but it was a little bit more aggressive in its approach. These days, and probably for the last 7 or 8 years, the training has just been really, really different and tremendous and soft and gentle, and I'm very comfortable with how, you're talking to somebody who loves dogs probably more than anybody in the audience, or as much as anybody, I should say. And I'm very, we're very careful about this. We're very conscious of their sensitivity and them as individuals.
Yeah.
So, and I think that plays out. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for all this education. I've always been a fan of Moriarty's Invisible Fence, and I'm a believer in what it does. It keeps my dogs safe, and yet we can go out. We can cross the barrier.
Absolutely.
So I really, really appreciate that.
I appreciate Bristol County.
And just how you're helping animals. You're helping animals, to be safe.
Right.
We don't see all these hit by car dogs like we used to. And it's because of
the other thing, and as I said to you earlier, yes, we're focused on containment, but the thing that people don't realize is the ability to have the dog or cat running around, exerting their energy outside, getting exercise. We're seeing better balanced dogs. We're seeing better behaved dogs. Physically, mentally, they're healthier, and
Absolutely.
that's a big part of it.
I can put my dogs out. They have 2 acres, and I could make it more if I was willing to go through the woods even further. But in a nice day, they love love it out there. They're
great.
out there. They chase the squirrels. They're laying in the sun, whatever they want to do. And I know they're safe. I don't have to even think about it. That I know they're safe. I know where they are.
That's all I want to hear. So if anybody who's watching this is interested in the invisible fence, we provide free in-home, on-site consultations. It's very much an educational approach. When I meet with somebody, we're just trying to lay out a lot of options and choices and trying to design a solution that's very specific to them. And we want them to be comfortable with it. We have a huge range of options and costs. And I think we try to present options and pricing that meet everybody's needs and hopefully fit everybody's budget. And we stand very firmly behind that. So we'll look forward to meeting whoever's in the audience watching this. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. We appreciate your education and teaching us about this and your commitment to the welfare of our pets.
Good.
Thank you.